Over the years, I've been accused of sounding like many, many things. A young Steve Martin, a Florida man bath salt salesman, on rare occasions, a guitar player. So today we're going to talk about how you can sound like a guitar player, what that even means. We're just going to come up with a really simple example and then use very guitar-specific ways to play certain notes. I'm rocking out the D'Angelico Deluxe SS today. So first of all, what I mean by sounding like a guitar player, we're going to play the same phrase. The notes are going to be this. Okay, so those are just the notes. You could play that on a kazoo. You could play that on an accordion. But using all the cool stuff that makes guitar unique, you can make it sound something like this. Okay, so this is really just a couple different techniques. So let's talk about the notes first. 7D, 5B, G string, 8, 7, 5, back to 7D, high E string 5, B string 8, and then end where we started on the 7th fret of the D string. So all good phrases, or all catchy phrases, tend to end on the same note they start on. That's why it's kind of the completion of a phrase, I suppose. So again. Okay, and we're going to turn that into... Alright, so it's just kind of like using these tips and tricks. First of all, instead of just playing the 7th fret on the D string like a loser, we're going to slide into it. The 5th fret to the 7th fret on the D string. This is kind of like if you're at a fancy party, who are you going to notice? You're going to notice the guy who's just standing there? Or are you going to notice the guy who slides into the party head first in a tuxedo? You're going to remember that guy. That's standing out. Slide in there, give it a little wiggle, a little vibrato, which we're going to talk more about later. But we're going to start right there. Now, instead of skipping a string and going to the 5th fret on the B string, we're going to rake into it. So, by raking, I mean this. Okay? So, it's really simple. Some people think of this mistakenly as sweeping, but it's really just a rake. When you rake, you just take your pick and just go down the strings, or up the strings, however you want to look at it, right? But we're just going to do a small version of that, where we're going from the D string to the B string. Okay? And then we're going to coordinate our fretting hand with our picking hand to mute, mute, and then sustain. Okay? So after we slide in, we're going to start on the same note again. Like that. Okay? So we can actually get a little bit of a sustain here on that first note, but we're going to leave it, and then as your pick goes to the next string, you're just going to hold the string until you get to the fret that you want. Alright? So that's going to be the idea pick-wise. And your fretting hand is going to follow it. And then when you get to the one you want, you can do that. Now we're going to talk more about this when we get to the top of it, but it's really just something super easy that, again, with just a little bit of practice and finesse, is going to sound like you're a guitar player. So, head first into that note. Into the B string, 5th fret, and then here's where we go from here. This kind of descending line where we went all on the G string, 8, 7, 5, back to 7D. Here's the ultimate move right here. Okay? So, this is a move I call the parachute. Basically, you start with the string bent up, and then bring it down for a landing, just like if you were jumping out of a plane with a parachute. Boom, like that. So, we have this note bent to the 8th fret. Instead of playing 8, 7, 5, we're bending up to where we think 8 is, landing on 7, and then going to 5. I think when people first start to bend, they take a note, they bend it, and then they come up and come back, which is great, but that's only half the battle. Again, the parachute, you start up, and then land it. Again, who are people going to remember at the party? The guy jumping up and down like an idiot, or the guy parachuting down from the chandelier into the party? I think you know the answer to that, right? So, after we have this bent up. Then we're going to go to the 5th fret on the G string, and then back to where we started. So, all together we have. And then, the last 3 notes. 5E, 8B, and then 5D. But we're going to do the same raking thing that we did at the beginning, but this one is going to be even easier because we're raking all the way to the high E string. So we can really practice this with my pointer finger is just touching the strings. You can hear the harmonic there. Sometimes you want that harmonic, you can kind of add a different thing. But on the 5th fret, if you just hold it and then really put the pressure down as far as once you finally get with your pick to the note that you want, even if you actually add extra notes, if it's like a chord like that, it can sound okay, but for this purpose we're just gonna rake into the high E string. Your pinky's gonna grab the 8th fret on the B string, give a little more vibrato, and this is a great way to start kind of incorporating maybe all your fingers to milk that note a little bit, right? So again, we rake to the top of the chord, and then the finishing flourishing move, take your pointer finger, which is already in position on the 5th fret, because remember, that's where we started, with that rake, and then we bring it on home with a little bit of that vibrato. And again, if you look at my hand, it's kind of going back and forth like that instead of like the finger vibrato that can sound kind of weird sometimes, okay? So, all together we've got the slide, the first rake, the parachute, the next rake, the pinky vibrato into that slide right there, okay? So again, you don't have to use this phrase or this lick to do any of this stuff. This can be incorporated to any single note that you're playing, but I think it's just kind of like a good example of how you can string these notes together and really utilize the uniqueness of having an electric guitar to your benefit. So definitely thank you for watching. If you like this, make sure to check out the masterclass I did with Justin about just kind of how you see the entire fretboard. Because once you see all the notes that are available to you in a way that makes sense to you pattern-wise, it's a lot easier to start incorporating this stuff into your playing. So check that out. That's going to be linked below. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.